number one. This guy could, I'm not saying draft him here, this guy could finish as the number one overall fantasy football wide receiver in 2025. And it's not like he isn't a steal. People are sleeping on a first-round player. How can you sleep on a known player, Smitty? I've been playing fantasy football for 10 years, 12 years. I've been doing it professionally for 23, 24 plus years. And I'll say whatever the hell I want. If I want to attach a descriptive word to the word sleeper, I've been doing it for 20 years. I'll continue to do it, Bob. So stop typing right now. You can't call a big-name player a sleeper. He's a first-round sleeper. People are sleeping on his value. He's going at 12 overall. What is wrong with people? All I know is I'm excited about it.
Let him cook.
I'm excited about it. You're excited about it. His ADP is 12. It should be top 5. It's not. We're going to go ahead and toss him on the Jupiter Men list, then begin the show and hit the intro. How's that sound?
The Jupiter Men. Jupiter is so large, every planet in the solar system could fit inside it. There are no bigger monsters than the Jupiter Men.
January 30th. January 30th, 2025, at an ADP of 1.12, you have just been christened as a Jupiter Man. Malik, go have a day.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
It's such a steal. I mean, you look down this board. Look, I love Jamar Chase as much as the next one. We had him ranked higher than anybody his breakout year. Your boy told Hugh Jackson that the Bengals were going to win the division the year they drafted Jamar Chase, which was a laughable endeavor at the point. So no one loves Jamar Chase more than your boy. Nobody loves Jamar Chase more than your boy, okay? But this guy can be Jamar Chase, and he's going 12 overall. This guy can outscore anybody at the wide receiver position in 2025. Now, a lot depends on his landing spot. I know we can't get overly excited about who's throwing him footballs until we know, but that's part of this game and why we play it. Because the answer to this is not, oh, well, what if, I should say the question isn't, what if, Smitty, the wrong quarterback is put in place to throw footballs? See, like this, Paul, it's an understandable question. I'm not trying to blast him. This is what the megaphone's saying right now, though, Paul. Oh, the battery fell out, Paul. Hold on a second. I think this is right. Oh, damn it, Paul. Damn it, Paul. Damn it, Paul. I don't know. I'll fix it later. The megaphone would say, but who's throwing him the football, Smitty? That's baked in, Paul. If he doesn't get a QB upgrade, Paul, this is where he finishes. He gets you this value no matter what. He could have a janitor throwing him the football like last year, and he finishes 12 overall. This is a remarkable ADP slot. It bakes in everything. The question you should be asking, Paul, isn't who's the QB in New York, though. It should be, what are we looking at if he does get a QB, Smitty? You're looking at Jamar Chase. You're looking at Jamar Chase, or you're looking at the number 2, or maybe the number 3. Probably number 4, number 5 in a worst case scenario. This guy, if this guy gets handed Justin Fields or Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, all major upgrades, especially with Brian Dable being the cultivator of the quarterback position. Even though he messed up with Danny Dimes, and look, this is more of a acquisition mess up by the entire Giant organization. I don't put it all on Dable. Dable was kind of handcuffed. Joe Shine was deciding to not bring back Barkley. That's not on Brian Dable. Brian Dable's got handcuffs on, but he is a quarterback cultivator. And if the question, again, is not who's the QB. I don't know if I could take him here. It depends on who's QB. That is the most boring answer I've ever heard in my life. Not the question, Paul, but the answer. If somebody says, I think I'll wait until whoever they get, and then I'll decide, Smitty, if I want to get on this train. No, especially in Best Ball Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty, where you can take advantage of this now. 50% matching your first deposit. Links in the description. Links in the live chat pinned right now. You can draft a 2025 team right now and get a 50% match on your first deposit all the way to $1,000. Minimum's only $10. Now is the time to strike, Paul. Now is the time to strike before he gets his quarterback, because you could fill up a big board. Big board's the new tournament right now. Big board, little board, and the bigger board. Those are the 3 2025 drafts that you can partake in right now with big, huge prizes. You can take as much Malik Nabers at 11, 10, 12, 13 overall as you can handle. And when his ADP rises, when he gets his quarterback, Paul, you can then take your foot off the gas a little bit and say, you know what? I've got enough Malik shares that I'll be fine the rest of the year if I don't draft him. Not saying you won't take him at 7, not saying you won't take him at 6 with a good quarterback, but you got to ask that question. You got to ask that question. The right question. What happens what happens if he doesn't get a quarterback? The question is, what happens if he does? This is a steal. This wins you leagues. This puts you in the prime position, best position possible in Best Ball Mania and big board and little board and bigger board, taking advantage of this value right here. Nothing inside the top 15 overall screams value more than Malik Nabers. I love the CeeDee Lamb value. That is a similar but a little lesser effect because he's going a little higher at 7. But CeeDee Lamb deserves to be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Nabers deserves to be top 5. I would say Achan's about right. You got to package in some risk. This is it. This is the gem, the darling, the belle of the ball of the top 15, the sleeper. People are sleeping on Malik Nabers inside round 1. That is a thing. That is a. And he is a Jupiter man.
The Jupiter men. Jupiter is so large, every planet in the solar system could fit inside it. There are no bigger monsters than the Jupiter men.
Big monster. What makes a Jupiter man? Someone that can explode from their value, ADP, or win you a league single-handedly. This guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, he's on there. When we put him on there in December, he was one of, if not the first. I think him and JD5 at the same time were the first 2 bold predictions we dropped, and we obviously did that, as you can see the date in December. Gibbs was still kind of in the, maybe he's like 7, 8, 9, 10 overall. He's since climbed since we posted that with the playoffs and everybody getting on board the train late, not on the train early. We conduct the train. Now everybody's got him in the top 4. So it's got a little less allure than it did, but that's why the date's there. And it doesn't make me want to take him off, because he can still crush if you get him at 4 or 5. He can still crush and give you more than that value back. So Gibbs ain't going anywhere. Just out of principle, he's not going anywhere. But the point of this list in the Jupiter, the Mars, the Saturn, it's value. It's explosion capability. JD5 is going to explode from his 3rd to 4th round value. Totally capable of it. Nabers is going to explode and annihilate his 12 overall ADP value, which will climb in time, especially after draft day if he does get Cam Ward or Shador, or before draft day in March if he gets Justin Fields or whatever. Darnold is another possibility. I think Shador Sanders would be great for the Giants. He is the most likely he's the most likely candidate of the 2 top rookie quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Shador, to probably fall to the Giants at their pick. So it's hard to know, but we do know that his ADP of 12 will not last forever. And now is the time to strike. And you can't strike in September drafts, right? Because by then he'll probably be a 5 or 6 overall pick, which is still worth it. We'll still be keeping him on the Saturn board or the Jupiter board, and we'll still be talking about him. We'll still be talking about him over and over. Paul, you're asking all the wrong questions today. I feel like normally you ask good questions. I feel like today you hit your head. A chance of regression for JD5. Don't use CJ Stroud as an example of why someone's going to have a sophomore slump. They're completely different players with completely different situations. I don't think about that at all, Paul, to be honest with you. Jupiter, Nabers to Jupiter, take advantage of it. Again, in September, you won't be able to, but it's still going to be a player we draft in the 6-7 territory overall. But right now, you can smash the best ball drafts and take advantage of 12 overall value. Do it live. Do it live. Not a whole lot to go over today. There's a little bit of news I'll throw on screen. Not a ton of news, but we'll go over it. Matthew Stafford, as I reported yesterday, he's going to play 2025, which is good for Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua, and certainly a must for Puka Nacua's value. Puka Nacua falls off the face of the earth if in terms of the same value. There's no way Puka Nacua is the same player. Is he still a second-round pick? Yeah, but is he a top 12 overall player without Stafford? No, this is huge. This is huge. Puka Nacua is a great route runner. He's got grit more than anybody. He's got determination that's really top level. Like, there's no one I would pick in the National Football League and say, oh, Puka Nacua, that guy has more determination, grit, and desire to go get a football. Puka Nacua is number 1, number 2, number 3 in the league in a lot of those categories. The grit, the Rudy Rudiger of the National Football League. But he needs Stafford and McVay. You know, he'd still be very good, but he wouldn't be 6, 7, 8 overall. And so Stafford returning is fantastic news. That would have been devastating. That would have been absolutely devastating. We got a couple other pieces of news here. Let me throw this over to my screen. For some reason, it didn't transfer over when I sent it the first time, so I got to send it this way. Bear with me for 1 second. Then we'll open the phone lines and talk about, first and foremost, Malik Nabers. I want you guys to, if you've got something on Malik, but also whatever you want, you know, call in and let's discuss whatever the hell you want to discuss. This news right here is, what in the hell is going on? Okay, here it is. This right here, there's a lot of concern, and rightfully so. And the best example you have of this is what happened in Philly when Shane Steichen left. What happened to Hurts in the offense? It really took a step back. The offensive coordinator is the engine. You know, when they're a play caller, they're the engine of the offense, and and it trickles into the defense. Well, the Lions have lost their DC and their OC. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both depart. Aaron Glenn goes to New York to be the head coach, and Ben Johnson goes to Chicago to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And this is what Amon-Ra St. Brown had to say about that departures. We'll be all right, though. Players make plays, right? Right. But there's a world where we're a little bit worried about seeing the same exact team. Like, I feel like the Lions were at their peak last year, or this season we're ending right now. The Super Bowl is about to be played. If you're watching this months later, this is a tough pill to swallow. I don't know that they're gonna fall off fantasy wise too much, and I don't know that they will at all. But this team, from a team perspective, I don't think they're gonna be as good. I think you're taking two major components away that are the engines of the roster. Now when Campbell has too much control, he tends to lose a game. You know, so if he gets more control over the offense, you kind of wonder what's going to happen. I don't know what to say at this point. I'm not knocking St. Brown down much. I'm not knocking Gibbs down at all. You might even say Gibbs is going to get run more. But I think that Goff might have a little bit of a, I don't know, I don't want to use the word that Paul was using, regression, but maybe he returns a little bit more toward the Goff of previous years where he was good. He was good, but everyone's praising Goff's name. Like, he's top 5. People are so underrate Goff. I don't know that people will be screaming and telegraphing that Goff is like totally underrated. It's going to be like, he's kind of mid. You know, he's good. He's in a good offense, but he's kind of mid. Thank you, Space Ricky, for the gift or the celebratory message, my boy. So I just wanted to bring it up. It's definitely a conversation. I think we'll do a whole show on it. You know, the Detroit Lions. What do we expect? What could go wrong? What could go, right? What are we not worried about? What are we, potentially going to be worried about? This right here is not good news for Ravens kicker Justin Tucker. First of all, let me put this other. Let me talk about that after I talk about this. I think it's right here. So Justin Tucker got in some trouble. NFL PR guy responds to first, we've been made aware of the allegations from the reporter investigating this story as they were previously shared with the NFL. We take any allegation seriously and we'll look into the matter. This is regarding a sexual misconduct and some inappropriate claims against Justin Tucker from massage parlors or masseuses. This is similar to the Deshaun Watson potential situation. Alleged, we don't fully know yet, but this is a weird tweet that we saw back in 2021 from Young MC, who says Justin Tucker is canceled, but it's not my place to provide the reason. Let's just say he's been told by many massage places to never come back. That was like in 2021, so this is not like a new thing. I'm not one to judge whether something's legit or not without having all the facts, so I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not innocent. He could be innocent. It's innocent until proven guilty in this country. You are in the public eye. You are playing for the National Football League. Unfortunately, you do get judged pretty quickly. I don't know what to say on this. I think I'll probably reserve the right to address this once we have some more evidence, I suppose you could say. But it's not looking good for him. I'll tell you that right now. Multiple claims, multiple people, different, masseuses saying that there was some inappropriate stuff going on. I don't know what it is with these players. It tends to be the Superman syndrome, where they're so high and mighty they think they can get away with anything, and they literally almost try and taunt, their fate. It's wild to me. Again, he might be innocent. We might not be. We'll have to address that later. This is a letter that he wrote. Looks like ChatGPT might have created it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I think the last time any of you read something this long was probably never, or back in maybe high school or early college. So I doubt anybody's going to even care. But basically, for the most part, he says, once I reviewed the newspaper's allegations against me, it was apparent that the newspaper was deliberately misconstruing events as nefarious, which were not, and were relying on third-party speculation to create false narratives about me. So he's clearly denying it. This is not an apology letter. This is more so I'm going to take this the distance. And so I'm going to reserve the right to judge the man until we know a little bit more. But with Deshaun Watson, we had so many different pieces of evidence and things that he admitted to doing that make the Deshaun Watson situation completely different. Like, people that don't know, I dug into it more than anybody. We had attorneys on. I had 2 different attorneys on constantly on the Deshaun Watson string of videos that we did. And people still run their mouth about it as if they know nothing about it. They don't know a thing about it, and they come in and say, Deshaun Watson was innocent. Like, Deshaun Watson may have been innocent of certain claims, but he was not innocent in acting like a fool and acting like a disgusting human being. Deshaun Watson admitted in affidavits that he did almost everything people were accusing him of doing. He just said it was all reciprocal. It was all warranted and wanted and invited. So you can say what you want about the other piece of that, Deshaun Watson, like unwarranted situations bestowed upon the masseuse. But he admitted to doing all of those things. And if you actually read through the documents, you'd be like, okay, never mind, Smitty, this guy's a disgusting man. Okay, so we have more information on that. That's what I'm saying. I'll reserve the right until I have some affidavits to look at, and we'll comb through them. We'll get a couple of attorneys on the line per usual, and we'll look at it, if it comes to that. But I don't know that anybody really cares. He's a kicker. So, how many? We'll maybe spend a show or two on it, okay? But I don't know if this is going to be a We talk about this thing every week, even if it's like, crazy. Yeah. Did the masseuse? Yeah. Did the question is, it's a great. Who said that? Freedom Guy. Freedom Guy is correct. The question is not did Deshaun Watson do all the things that he did. It's were they wanted by the masseuse? Wanted. We apparently think not, but now did Tucker do some things, and were those things wanted? We don't know. Freedom Guy. Let's go. Hit me with some phone calls.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
All right. Dial in. Don't forget this video is up. It talks about the Stafford situation. Stafford coming back 2025. Kyron Williams, absolute steal. Kyron's a third rounder. If you're wondering where Kyron is on the Moon Man, Mars Man, Saturn board, here you go.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man.
Sorry.
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars Men.
Kyron, 3.9 ADP as of January 28th.
Roads dropping and spinning aimlessly in space.
Breece Hall, ADP of 3.5. Scattaboo has an ADP of double-digit rounds. Brian Thomas Jr., he's just awesome. But those are your Mars men, by the way. All right, let's take this one. We got a 850 caller. 850, you're live. What's your name and where are you calling from? 850, you're live.
Tallahassee, Florida.
What's your name, bro?
Blake.
What's your name, bro?
Blake.
Blake, what can I do for you?
No, I'm just calling to say neighbors to the freaking moon.
Attaboy.
What people don't realize is the NFL has basically re-gifted us with a new Burrow, Chase, and Jefferson. And they're sitting at the end of the first round and in the third round. But why are people not realizing this?
I don't know. He's just right there. He's right there at 12 for the taking. But instead, and again, I don't mean to call Paul out. Paul, you're my boy, and you're awesome. But it's that question that people ask, well, who's throwing to him? as if that's not... It's almost like saying, I'm trying to even think of an example. It's like finding a $100 bill on the ground and it's worth $100. No matter what, it's worth $100, but tomorrow it could be worth $500. And you're asking the person, is it a good deal to invest in it at the cost of entry when you know it's at the rock bottom? Like it doesn't, he could literally not only double in value, right? I mean, he literally could go straight up to the top. He could be the number one overall player. He's capable of being the number. There's no reason he can't have Jamar Chase's numbers from last year. You know, he could totally do it. The question is, if he doesn't get a good quarterback, the question people ask, what about his quarterback? That puts him right at 12. No matter what, he's at 12. Unless he gets hurt or something.
Well, the other thing and BTJ is sitting right there beside him. People look at him. Is he not just the younger Justin Jefferson?
He very well could be. I think BTJ, he's great, bro. He's great. I think Nabers is on a different level from a talent perspective. I really like BTJ. BTJ could be I kind of liken them to CeeDee Lamb. BTJ could become CeeDee Lamb. Nabers is going to become Jamar Chase. So there's a caveat, a potential probably in there. BTJ's probably becoming Lamb.
Here's the thing with the 5 names you mentioned, though. All 5 of those names were born within a 60-mile radius of each other. Well, so they all have played ball in the same area against the same elite defenses since they were 6 years old. They all know how to ball. They all know how to control their body in midair whenever they catch the ball. Yeah. They're all ballers, every one of them. So how do you bust with any of them in the first round? The worst they can do is return second-round value to you, any 5 of them.
Yeah, I think, but again, this show is mainly focusing on Nabers, and as much as I like BT, we'll do a show on BT, and I don't mind talking about him. I'm not saying you can't talk about him. I think it's good value. I don't know that I don't know that I'm sitting here going, hey, BT should be number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 overall. I think BT's in a good spot. I don't know that I'd take BT higher than where he's going, because there's that like he could be CeeDee Lamb, and he finished number 4 last year. So there's not much to really debate right here. But we do have a new offense again. We have Trevor Lawrence learning a new system again. You've got Ingram coming back, which people would say that's a problem or whatever. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying there's a lot of different moving parts. And there's a reason to believe if there's going to be a bump in the road for one of the wide receivers as a sophomore slump type of thing, it could be BT more than anybody, just because his environment is completely changing and getting, unrooted again. And Cohen, I'm a little torn on Cohen. I'll admit that Duvall is part of why. You judge me for it if you want, but I'm just looking at this guy. I'm like, this guy, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel was too normal. Like, he was a normal guy. He wasn't even a coach. And you're like, oh, this is going to be cool to see this guy that's just like us out there. He doesn't even act like a coach. I just don't know if I don't know if Cohen's able to do all the things you got to do as a head coach. It's hard to be a head coach. It is so hard to go from a good offensive coordinator to being an amazing head coach. You kind of have to carry yourself a certain way. This is why I said Caleb bothered me, because Caleb didn't carry himself like a leader. He carried himself like a weirdo. And he's an attention-seeking media guy that even his own teammates said, don't bring that Hollywood crap into the locker room and into the NFL. You'll get eaten alive. His own players said that about him when he was coming into the NFL. And there's certain, like, I don't care about wide receivers. Don't give me that T.O. and Randy Moss and other players with their diva mentalities. Those are different positions. And I don't mind a cocky, arrogant quarterback. Aaron Rodgers was arrogant and cocky. He was amazing for years and years and years. It's normal, sometimes you got to have that edge as a quarterback, but you also got to carry yourself a certain way to be a quarterback and a head coach. And when I look at Cohen, I'm not saying he's going to bust. I'm just like, what in the hell? I don't know. I'm not getting a vibe. I don't know. So, is Trevor Lawrence going to have another offense 2 years from now? I don't know.
Yeah, no. I hear your point on that. Just draft Nabers. I'm not against it. I look at BTJ as a cross in between CD and Jefferson. I look at Nabers as a cross in between Chase and CD.
Yeah.
Nabers in midair is absolutely insane. The way he can get his body control in midair,
everything,
the way he can come down and
Nabers.
absorb
Everything
contact. There's no other receiver like that.
You watch Puka Nacua run a route, you think this guy's going 100,000 miles per hour, and he's trying harder than anybody. He's working harder than anybody. He's got an ability to just lay himself out, and he's vertical in the air, 3 feet off the ground. His whole body's 3-4 feet off the ground, and he catches this ball no one's gonna catch, lands on his arms, almost breaks his arms, and that's what's very bad about Puka Nacua. He puts his body at risk almost every freaking play. He almost gets hurt every game, and that's a big risk about Puka Nacua. But is Puka Nacua the specimen that Nabers is? Absolutely not. He's not even close. I know a lot of Puka people are going to get mad at me for that, but he's not. Nabers is literally probably the most wide receiver frame, fluidity, skill set, jump ball ability, every category. He can be the number one player in the National Football League at every single category. Jump ball, strength, quickness, footwork, route running, vision, spatial awareness, everything. Things you can't teach. He is by far and away the best prospect in the wide receiver pool right now for the future of the NFL. I think he's got better skill sets overall than JJ. I'm not saying JJ's not better than him right now and that JJ doesn't best him in certain categories, but if anybody could literally be number one across the board, and even more so than Jamar Chase, because Jamar Chase is amazing in almost every category, but there are things that JJ does better than Jamar Chase. I think Nabers, we could get to a point where we're saying nobody's better than Nabers at anything.
I can agree with that. Because Nabers, whenever he has the ball in his hands, he's like Jamar Chase. But whenever he's in the slot and in midair, he's like CeeDee Lamb. And that's the best of both worlds right there.
Yeah, he can do anything. All right, bro. Appreciate you. Later, Blake.
Absolutely. Nabers to the moon.
Yeah. Travis, you're live.
Hey, just quick on Cohen, and he might be fine, but it always worries you a little bit when you have someone trying to act cool that isn't cool. Like, if you're cool, you're just cool, and that's your personality. But
yeah.
That was like him trying to be remembered at the press conference. Like, remember when the Giants hired Ben McAdoo, and they gave him like a haircut and slicked his hair back and dressed him up, and it was like, this is never going to work because that's not who he is. Like, you can't change people. You got to be yourself. Right?
He did another one. I don't know if this is AI or you can't tell anymore. I don't know if this is AI or not, but apparently he's kind of rolling with it. He's sticking to it, and he's trying to turn it into like it's a cool thing to yell at Duvall in a bad way. So he redid it, I guess. Again, I don't know if this is real, but here. he redid it. He redid it. I don't know. I don't know if that's real. I think it is. I think it's real, but this comes down to like
too much of the Russell Wilson stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Look. There are certain positions that you can get away with being a wild man. You know, look at Dennis Rodman in the NBA. Look at Caleb. But quarterback is where I start looking at it differently. Other positions, you know, look at any wide receiver that's a diva that's played very, very well. Running backs, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter the position. But when you're a quarterback and you got to lead men, you got to lead the entire locker room. You got to lead an arsenal into battle. You got to be able to corral everybody. You got to be able to show leadership and calmness and collectedness and be well-spoken and do all those things. And while Caleb, I'm not saying Caleb's not well-spoken or anything, he doesn't, in the way that commands the men and commands the locker room and commands the game, I don't think he has that ability. That's one big problem. Could he learn it? Sure. But as a coach, too, Miami Mike McDaniel doesn't. I thought maybe he was going to just be, like you said, cool. And it was going to be something different. And he was such a good offensive mind in San Francisco, creating the Deebo Samuel role, inventing essentially the wide back at the NFL level anyway, or implementing it best. And he doesn't know how to coach. He doesn't know how to coach. Mike McDaniel doesn't know how to manage the clock. He doesn't know how to do any of those things. I look at Aaron Glenn coming over from Detroit. That is a leader. That is an Aaron Glenn. I'm excited about the New York Jets because I think Aaron Glenn's going to get it done. I think he's a culture setter. I don't think Cohen's a culture setter at all. I think he's a glorified offensive coordinator. They got the job. And remember, he was no better than Slowick was 2 years ago. Bobby Slowick was probably, if not a slightly better version of Liam Cohen, and Bobby Slowick got fired after one more year. He was getting head coach offers.
Flavor of the month.
Yeah. This is the parody of the NFL coaching tree that now it turns over too quickly. You don't really know what's what. You're just going off of one season, and then Bobby Slowick, top prospect, he decides to stay in Houston. Ben Johnson decides to stay in Detroit. They both could have had head coaching jobs. They both decided to stay. Ben Johnson improved his stock. Bobby Slowick plummeted and got fired after one more year. So Liam Cohen could have got, if he stayed, maybe even got fired if he didn't, just like Slowick, or he could have gone the Ben Johnson route. We don't know, but we certainly don't know if he's a good head coach. But my gut tells me that if you're trying to pinpoint whether a good OC could be a good coach, Cohen's lacking a few of the things that I would look for. I'm not saying the other components don't overwhelm it, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, at first, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. He's walking into kind of a messy situation, and he's got to implement a new offense with the quarterback that's been abused and absolutely, run through the grinder. This guy, Trevor Lawrence, poor guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he lost all of his hair, all that lion mane, just because of the stress of going through new coaches and new offenses and having to start over. I mean, that Urban Meyer year 1 for Trevor Lawrence was a disaster. That poor guy, he had a total reset of his rookie year in his sophomore year. And I don't know. I think Cohen is just tough. I like his mind. I want him to be an offensive coordinator. Maybe he brings in the right people and listens to the right people as he molds and sculpts his coaching capabilities. That would be good. If he can do that, he'll succeed maybe.
Well, and just one last thing to touch on that. Jaguars desperately need a culture change. They need a culture setter too. So, like, maybe Cohen can do that or bring people in that does it. But T-Law, like, just on the culture of things and having to go overseas for games left and right, and he hasn't had any stability since he's been drafted. So that's so hard to develop with. So
it's almost like he's been in foster coaching care, like just bouncing around, no stability,
kind of floating.
Surprised he isn't acting out. But Cohen, I'm not writing Cohen off. I'm admitting that I don't know. Is my stance is. I'm not saying I can't come in here week 3 and some random Joe's going to be like, Smitty, now you like Cohen. I like Cohen. Cohen brings an offensive mind that could be great, but you can't just assume. So we're going to be cautious with it, cautiously optimistic. But I'll tell you what, this Duvall thing, it's a small thing. I get it. That people are going to make fun of me. I don't think they'll make fun of me that much because I think they feel the same way. But there's certain mannerisms and certain ways you carry yourself when you're in front of a camera and multiple times, and where you're just like, okay, I don't think he's head coach material. There's a reason why, what's his face? Bieniemy was never given a head coaching job, and people said this is ridiculous because he can't talk to people in public and because he does bad interviews. Well, clearly there's something to that, because if you're Bieniemy and you are supposed to get this head coaching shot and you never get it, and you're being told by GMs and owners that he does not interview well, he does not feel like a leader, then there's obviously more people than I that think this way. And I'm not saying I wasn't there for Cohen's interview. Maybe Cohen's interview is amazing. Maybe he's just a little nerdy, but he's like freaking awesome, explaining what his plans are and everything. And they're like, wow, I'm impressed with this guy. He's a little kooky, but I'm impressed with him. Kind of like we hoped Mike McDaniel would be. A little kooky, a little weird. Where's, what do you call the capris? Wouldn't be surprised if he had a fanny pack on the sideline or wore a purse.
Yeah.
But,
It's like anything else. So like, just like you talked about with Caleb last year or Pickens last year, like, you don't write guys off, and it doesn't mean they can't do well, but every little red flag or caution flag, you got to make a note of it. And if they start adding up or they start repeating themselves, well, then there's something there to look out for. You have to keep track of all this stuff.
Yeah. Culture isn't a big deal, MJ? What's MJ's comment? Culture isn't a big deal since team is winning. Since team is winning. No, it's not it. Not it, MJ. Appreciate you, though. Culture helps you get to the winning formula. You don't have a culture. You don't have a good culture. You can't be a winning team.
Yeah.
And going from Tampa, leaving Tampa, a winning culture, like if that's what you meant to, I'll hit it from that angle. Leaving Tampa might lose the culture because the offense is going to be different potentially, or, we'll see how it goes, but you can't leave. Ben Johnson leaving Detroit can't leave it exactly how it is. Kellen Moore leaving Dallas didn't leave the Cowboys exactly like they were, because that's when they were supposed to run the damn ball, and it didn't work out. They had to go back and try and mimic and mirror everything Kellen Moore did to get CeeDee Lamb back on his horse, and Lamb at his best, year he's ever had. But it started off rough because McCarthy tried to run the damn ball. Like, so how much can Ben Johnson's recipe be replicated without him? Does Ben Johnson, is he the guy that has all the recipes and they don't know how to function without him? Can they bring in somebody that wants to replicate it? Or will they bring in somebody that goes, I want to do my own thing? I'm not Ben Johnson. Then all of a sudden it's like, bro, you better be better than Ben Johnson or you're going to screw this up. So it's more important as to who comes in, whether they're going to continue the good things or if they're going to come in and say, I'm not Ben Johnson. I'm going to do my own thing. We're going to the I formation all game long. You don't know. Like Pete Carroll ran a 2 wide receiver set, which his coaching tree, which consisted of one of being, what's his face? I'm already forgetting his name from Chicago. Waldron under Pete Carroll ran 2 wide receiver sets. So when he went over to Chicago, you knew there was going to be a problem. At least we did. You draft Rome Odunze in the top 15 and you only run 2 wide receiver sets. There's a problem. Chicago, we got a problem. So yeah, you bring in a Shane Waldron or something like that, or however, you end up. I don't know. What else you got, Travis?
Yeah. So, well, just to put a cap on that, someone in the chat mentioned how Cohen wouldn't take the job unless Balky wasn't there. So, I mean, I guess you can give him credit that he stood his ground, so he knows what he wants. So, hopefully, what he wants is the right thing for picking players and culture and all that. So,
have the Bucks? Who have the Bucks looked at? Do we know who the Bucks are looking at?
What?
Do we know who the Bucks are looking at now to fill their vacancies?
I don't know. I haven't seen. That's going to be interesting.
I mean, it's important, guys. It's important.
I wonder if Cohen had someone under him that they can just kind of keep the same system, because
maybe
I would think you wouldn't want to change too much there with the way that offense.
A QB coordinator would be great, like something like that. But I don't know. I mean, even in Detroit, it's touching. It's going to be touch and go a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to be a little bit careful. I'm not like running away from St. Brown or J-Mo, but I may be running away from Goff if I ever was going to draft him. I'm maybe a little more worried about things, at least from a winning perspective.
I want to see what Goff does, because Johnson really took his game to the next level, like, in my opinion anyways. So I want to see how that's affects him long term here.
Yeah, and the Lions did hire John Morton, offensive coordinator. I'll be honest, man. I need to look a little bit deeper into this guy. I don't have a good feel on how qualified he is. I mean, he's on Campbell's staff in 2022 as a senior offensive assistant in Ben Johnson's first year as an offensive coordinator. Detroit was number 4 in total offense, 380 yards, and number 5 in scoring. Campbell called Morton a superstar after he left Detroit to join Denver's staff after his 1 season in Detroit. Campbell said he wanted to hire a replacement for Ben Johnson who would keep much of the Lions' current system and terminology in place. So that's good. Goff set career highs. I mean, so that's good news for Detroit. And that comes from Tim Twentyman over on DetroitLions.com, just to make sure I give him his proper credit there. But that's good. I mean, that's good. I don't know a lot about Morton, to be honest with you, but what I'm reading there, being involved in that Denver offense at all last year makes me feel good that he had some good success there, jumping over to help Bo Nix, and then being in Campbell's circle already does sound pretty solid. So feels pretty good. It feels pretty good, I would say. Who knows, though? Who knows? Dial in. Anybody wants to ask a question?
Call into the show. Call into the show.
So Morton excites me a little bit there, just knowing that information. But number 2, or the second team we were looking at, the Bucks, I need to know what they're going to do. If they tell me something like that, if I hear something like that, I'm more encouraged than if they go get somebody that's going to implement something new. Bake, it's working, man. I would Bucky, or if they bring in some running back by committee, oh no, and then Bucky's value gets a little bit knocked off kilter. I don't want that at all. We need Bucky to remain in a zone. Theo, you're live. Theo, what can I do for you? Go ahead, Theo.
Yeah, do you think the new offensive coordinator for the Bears is a bad hiring if Greg Dulcich never became that good and he was the tight end coach for the Broncos?
I don't know what's going to happen. Look, first of all, Ben Johnson calls the plays.
Dulcich was hurt.
Offensive coordinator in Chicago is almost irrelevant. He's a clipboard holder, bro. I don't even know if they give him a parking spot. I mean, Ben Johnson is calling plays, right? To my knowledge. I don't know why he wouldn't. So, I mean, what's the offensive coordinator? I mean, I'm not saying that he does nothing. He's got to be motivational and all that, but this is like the enemy over in KC, like what did he really do? So remember when Bieniemy, who was, offensive coordinator, they were asking, well, what did he do? Well, he went up to Andy Reid during a game and gave him an idea. You remember that? You're like, whoa, right. Whoa. That's not a qualification. That's like a third place trophy. That's like a ribbon. So I don't know that I'm Chicago's going to live and die by Ben Johnson, bro. I'm not
yeah,
necessarily.
so it probably won't matter.
Yeah. Maybe he gets a good coffee. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of Dulcich was always hurt. That's what you said, right? Greg Dulcich, is that who you were talking about?
Yeah. Because he was really good at one point.
Yeah, I mean, his rookie year he showed really well, and it seemed like every time he stepped on the field he was hurt. And I don't know, that offense kind of been in flux too until Bo Nix came in. So I don't know if I'd put too much on it, but
yeah.
Yeah, because it was just a confusing hire because the Broncos tight ends weren't like relevant whatsoever last year, so it was just like a.
Ben Johnson, he must know him from somewhere else or coached with him somewhere else. I'd guess. I could be wrong, but there's probably some connection.
So this is announcing the Bears hires. This is the Bears' new team under Ben Johnson right here. It's Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator. It's Doyle, offensive coordinator, and Hightower, special teams coordinator. I don't know, boys. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that Ben Johnson's going to fail. He could turn it around. I just know Caleb Williams is, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league when pressured. And you could label that, he had a horrible offensive line and he was running for his life, fighting for his life every play. And that's true. But he also holds onto the ball way too long. He did it in college.
Yeah, way too long.
It's what everybody's problem was. If they did have a problem with him like I did, coming out of college, he was always scrambling around and throwing on the run. That means he's always holding onto the ball. And then people would say, well, he didn't have any weapons. Yeah. Fine. Okay, but he's in the same spot right now, and he's doing the same thing again. And so most of Caleb's good production came when they were down, and they were in the third and fourth quarter, is past halftime, and defenses are like, all right, let's let them score a little, but drag out the game and win this game. Prevent defenses, things like that. Caleb was piss poor. I venture to say the worst quarterback in the league in the first quarter. I don't have the stats in front of me, but there's no way it can be anything other than that because it was 3 and out, like all year long in the first quarter. They're garbage because Caleb was playing in the pocket. He was in the pocket in the first quarter. He's not good in structure. He was not good in structure in college. Again, you could blame it on they had no weapons, so he had to scramble and make things happen. But the problem is he's learned through all of college a habit that's very hard to break, and all through the pros so far in his first year to hold on to the ball. And I think being pressured, he's by far the worst quarterback in the league in terms of getting sacked. When pressured, it's a sack.
He needs to get out of the pocket more.
Yeah. And knowing this team, they're talking about. I mean, we're not hearing it from the Bears, but a lot of Bears predictions are that the Bears are going to consider Ashton Genty. They number one, I don't want that, obviously. Number two, you're really going to not go get an offensive lineman. You're not going to draft a guy like Banks or whatever. What are you doing? If you go that route, Ryan Poles should be fired on the spot. That would be insane. Paul says, let's give Caleb a couple years. I don't have to give him anything, Paul. Paul, you're taking some L's tonight. But Paul, I love you, pal. Let's calm down and give Caleb some time. No.
Ben Johnson put the team.
What, Travis?
No, sorry. I was just saying we don't necessarily know how Ben Johnson puts a team together either. Because he'll have some say about personnel. And I mean, I guess.
Some say, but you see Ryan Poles.
Aside from Poles, yeah.
On draft day, Ryan Poles has got the phone making all the deals. I don't think Ryan Poles is awful. He's the reason this thing's. He made everybody else a scapegoat. He's the problem. 248
It gets
caller.
worse every year for Poles too.
Yeah, 248 caller. You're live. What's your name and where are you calling from? 248.
Hi, I'm Paul, a different Paul than what's in the chat, and I'm calling from the Bahamas.
Okay, Paul from the Bahamas. Do you live in the Bahamas or are you visiting?
I'm here for school.
Okay. Bahamas. How are the Bahamas?
Pretty nice.
It's great. The weather, honestly, it's been a little bit chillier here than quote unquote than what it is typically in the high 60s.
Poor Paul.
But it's really nice.
Paul, what can I do for you?
I just had a few questions just overall, because I've been trying to make my own rankings and my own sort of draft board and stuff like that. And I was just wondering your advice on how to balance your own personal positional rankings versus ADP. For example, if I have Bucky Irving as ranked as RB7, for example, but his ADP, as you've shown, and on the underdog is the round 3.
Yeah.
How do you balance between taking him potentially in the second round versus trying to wait and getting him into the third round or something like that?
It's a great question. I just think that it comes down to case by case. It comes down to, you're on the clock, bro. And you got that's why best player available is the best strategy known to man, because it doesn't pigeonhole you into a certain strategy. It's the parent strategy of everything. And if you're looking at it and Bucky Irving is you have him ranked in the 15 overall, let's say, but he's going at 3.1. Well, you're not going to get him with your middle of the third round pick. So taking him early is a judgment call. You're eliminating some of the risk that's packaged into his ADP because you're taking him early, but do you feel he could be a top 10 overall player? Then it's still worth it. You just got to take it case by case. I mean, there's no real way to. All I would say is that you're basically drafting off ADP. ADP is more important than anything. You're not drafting off ADP, you're manipulating it. And so when people will set their own draft rankings in the app that they're drafting on, and they don't even look at ADP, that's the dumbest way to draft, period. Because you're not looking at the flow of what you're allowed to get and what you can get away with. ADP is not something you draft off, it's something you manipulate. So I would just say that your rankings, my rankings are in my head. I don't even use, as much as I create rankings on my site on thefantasyfootballshow.com, I'm not suggesting people got their own process. You might want to print them out. But for me, rankings are something that you get your mind in a certain place, looking at them, studying them. Maybe you're looking at my rankings to say, oh God, I love where he has that guy. I love where, and you're kind of accumulating all this information. And then when you're on the clock, I'm not looking at a ranking sheet really ever at that point. I'm looking at ADP and I'm just looking through it. I'm going, holy shit, how is Bucky Irving going to fall to my third round pick? I'm not picking him here. I got a really tight second and third round turn situation going on. I'm going to wait and get Bucky as my third drafted player, package in even more risk. Right now, I'm looking at Kyron Williams and Breece Hall in round 3 and Bucky in round 3, and I'm ear to ear grin, like a kid at a candy store, because now I can go Jamar Chase at 1, and at the 2-3 turn at 24 and 25 overall, I'll reach on one of these guys because Kyron's going, down at the 3.9 territory. Why, I don't know. And Breece Hall's in the middle of the third. I'll take Breece and Kyron as my second and third drafted player. And that has nothing to do with where they're ranked on my personal rankings. I just know that I'm cleaning up and I'm drafting the best pick available at every single turn. When I'm on the clock, who is the best player? Who can outscore their ADP? I don't care if I'm taking them early. Who is the best player available? Is it Josh Allen at 3.2? Then it's Josh Allen. I don't care about early quarterback strategy or this strategy or last year in best ball. These people had a better chance. I'm taking the best team possible. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But more times than not, you go best player available, bro. You're never going to feel regret when you leave your draft.
Great, yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that because I've been just trying to look at all the stats and trying to make my own personal stuff while matching it with like what you're saying and like what I've seen a bunch of other people say, and that definitely helps. Then another thing, how insane is it to rate Josh Jacobs over Achane?
Not insane. I mean, their ADPs are very different. So, if you can get Josh Jacobs in the third round, I think. So, like, you can't, like, I'm looking at it right here. Hold on. I got the ADP data. And I'm not saying he should be here. I'm just telling you guys where his ADP is.
Right.
Jacobs is he still in the second? Where's he at?
23.3 on that ADP
so
list.
The 2-3 turn. The 2-3 turn, and you're asking versus Achane. Achane's going in the top. Achane's right here at number 11. So the the conversation's almost like saying, hey, do you like a Maserati or do you like this Corvette? Like, they're both great, bro, but you can't really compare them. They're not going in the same. Like, when you say, is it crazy to rank him over? Yeah, it is crazy to rank Jacobs over Achane because their ADPs are not even close. They're a whole round and a pick or two apart. So you can't draft one over the other because you're missing the boat on value. Is there a world where Jacobs outscores Achane? Abso-freaking-lutely. But you just can't compare them in terms of ranking. Like, maybe your personal ranking, but that's going to tell you, hey, you know what? I'm going to go Nabers instead of Achane because I'm going to get Jacobs and Bucky in the second and third round picks. And then, boom, that's how you smash, bro. So you're going to use Jacobs.
Right.
You're
So it's all about comparing
Jacobs
like your player rankings versus, and then matching it like versus ADP, like, and taking like who you prefer about trying to exploit the ADP. Then
the ranking. Let me put it this way one more time. The rankings. I'm not saying my rankings aren't valuable on thefantasyfootballshow.com. I'm not trying to suggest that. I'm trying to say consume and like study and look at rankings, like mine. But really, when you go into a draft, if you're drafting off rankings, you're kind of drafting like in a tier-based format. I really honestly never ever have a sheet next to me while I'm drafting. That's almost as if I don't know what I'm doing. That would make me feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I need a sheet to remind me who's good. I literally I'm looking at the ADP board, bro. And I need to see what my team looks like. If you're 5 picks in, you need to sometimes you need to step back, and especially if you're doing multiple drafts, and go, okay, who do I got so far? Okay, I got my lineup almost filled. I got to go this way. I'm not saying don't look at all that, but you can look at all that in the app. But I think it's almost redundant to be checking off a sheet when you should kind of know. And you do enough underdog drafts on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, link in the description, link pinned in the live chat. You're going to have this thing down like, you won't even really have to hesitate. You could go into a draft without any preparation at all. But the ADP is your guide of how to manipulate it. So, yeah, if I'm sitting there at the 11 pick and I'm like, Achane's there, but Nabers is there, but I really like Jacob Slater, but it's going to be hard to get Jacobs to that third round pick, though. But you know what I'm saying? Like, just you got to look at things like that.
Right. Okay.
You might get Breece Hall.
And then one last quick thing. Assuming the Browns take a QB in the draft like Sanders or somebody else, how do you rate Jerry Jeudy, especially with how amazing he was after Deshaun Watson's injury?
Oh, man. this is a good topic. We'll probably have a lot of Jerry Jeudy content, I think. At least a couple isolated videos on him, based on the movement around him, like who they're bringing at quarterback, and then we'll do a Jerry Jeudy video. I think he definitely needs somebody, though. I kind of feel like the best way to describe Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley, like worried the hell about whether he's going to be used right. Like Calvin Ridley was a star, bro. And he ruined it himself by walking away from the game and putting some distance and then trying to like climb back in. But the last 2 years, he's been really ruined. And it hasn't really been his fault. When he was in Jacksonville, he's running go routes, very low success rate go routes, like just stretching the field, and he'd almost have like 2 or 3 touchdowns a game, but he'd end up with 0 points like more often than not. And it's like you can't convert on those, a real low success rate. So at the end of the day, Jake, I'm sorry you hung up, bro. You can call back in and I'll rush you up to the top. I'm sorry, bro. But I'm a little bit worried about Jeudy not having what he needs to duplicate, what he did last year. He's capable of it, just like Ridley is. But we really are. This, unfortunately, is one of those situations where we do need to wait on the quarterback because his ADP's about right now without the quarterback. So I'm okay drafting him in certain spots, but I'm not expecting anything yet until he gets his quarterback. Whereas with Nabers, we feel like Nabers is absolutely already baked into that 12 overall value to not have a quarterback. So it's kind of like the opposite ends of the spectrum for those two guys. But Jeudy I like a lot. He's still a young guy. Him and CeeDee Lamb had the same draft year. I remember on the live stream when Jeudy was going nuts, I even had to remind myself that. I'm like, wait, is Jeudy old? It seems like he's old, but he was CeeDee Lamb's draft year. So there's still a shot. I like Jeudy a lot. But he needs a quarterback, bro. He needs Justin Fields. He needs Cam Ward. He needs Shedeur Sanders. Now, the Browns, good news is the Browns have the number 2 overall pick. So there's a really, really, really good chance they don't trade out of that, but they are the Browns. So let's wait and see if he gets Cam or Shedeur. I think Judy's pretty solid. I don't know if I'd rank him much higher than he's going right now, though. What's his ADP right now? I think it's like... Let me see. I'm going to say it's like reasonable, but it's not a steal, if I remember correctly. Like you can make
54.9.
Yeah, so it's about right. It's about right. If he gets a quarterback, he might increase, though. And then he's still going to be about right. All right, bro.
Thank you.
Later.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm fairly new to the channel, but I've enjoyed the live streams every night, and I'm loving it. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Later. All right, let me get this super chat out of the way. This is from G6. He says, Smitty, I traded away Garrett Wilson and McMillan for a 25 mid-third and a 2026 second and T. Higgins and Troy Franklin. I guess wherever T goes decides this one. I'm going to say, bro, I don't like this G6. I think you got roasted on this one. Number one, I'd rather have Garrett Wilson over T. Higgins anyway, no matter what. From a dynasty perspective, McMillan's a gem, bro. And
gotta get a first.
Yeah, there's no first rounder here, bro. Like you're talking about a second and a third and T. So basically, I wouldn't have given up Garrett Wilson for all of this. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't give up the second, the third. I wouldn't give up 5 second rounders for McMillan. Or I wouldn't give up McMillan 4 or 5 second rounders, just to equate that to some value. Like, I want McMillan. I love McMillan. I don't care. Second rounders are good, but you're not for sure going to hit those, nor can you keep every pick, and it doesn't even matter. I'm just saying McMillan's a stud potentially in the making. And Garrett Wilson, I wouldn't have done this. I think this one's unfortunately a G6. I love you, pal, and I appreciate your super chat. And you always come to me for honesty, but that one's rough, bro. I'm not gonna lie. T. Higgins could help make it better, and he could even maybe even it out, I suppose, in the most ideal of situations. But bro, the most ideal of situations might be staying put. All right, let me go over to Theo one more time. Theo, what else you got? What do you hear? What do you say?
Yeah, I'm in a startup right now. I'm trying to decide between Ridley, Otten, Likely, and Evan Ingram. Which one of those guys would you go if I don't have a tight end?
Say it again. I'm sorry. Say it again
flex
one more time.
blocker?
I'm sorry. Say it one more time.
Yeah, Evan Ingram, Kate Otten, Isaiah Likely, Travis Kelce, Jatavion Sanders, Cole Kmet, Quentin Johnston, or Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley. Are you deciding on just a tight end here? Am I missing that?
No, just who to pick. I mean, I don't have a tight end, so I'd probably lean at tight end. But
is this a dynasty startup, you said?
Yeah, it's dynasty startup and a half-point premium.
For tight ends?
Yeah, for tight end reception.
I think I still go Kelce probably just to win, bro. I mean, I get
Kelce,
I get it's dynasty, but I don't know. I mean, Ingram's like always injured, and like, is that really going to matter? 2 years or 3 years from now, is Ingram really going to be giving you what you thought he was by turning down winning with Kelce one more time?
I would think you could get Likely and Jatavion later than Kelce, that thing too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, especially if we're talking draft value.
Yeah.
And then
I like Likely and Sanders.
Yeah, I do. Go get Likely
like
still.
Otten too, but
still get Likely for sure. Otten and Likely, I think they're really good, but definitely feel like this is kind of like the similar situation we were just talking about with I forget his name already. Bahamas. What was his name? Bahama.
Paul.
Yeah,
Paul from Bahama Paul. Bahama Paul was talking about Jacobs and Achane. It's an understandable argument, but like who could outscore the other, but not who do you draft ahead of the other. Like Achane's got a different ADP, so you take advantage of Jacobs' ADP if you want Jacobs over Achane, and if you want Otten or Likely, bro, you got to take him past Kelce in my opinion. Like Travis just said, you can still get him later.
Yeah, I even like Jatavion really late. Like,
yeah, Likely's not going high, bro.
No, and there's whispers they could move on from Andrews too.
Yeah, Andrews is probably going to go into a cave. That poor guy. All right, what else you got, bro? Anything else?
You said Kelce? All right. One more thing that I could done is Leggett or Cooper Kupp.
Leggett or Cooper Kupp. That's a similar. That's a similar situation where you're trying to decide. Do you win now? Do you want some future value? I like Leggett, but he didn't exactly impress me enough that I feel like he's going to take this huge leap this coming season. But I like him a lot. I do. I just don't know. I'd almost say if you have a shot
if
at,
I want to win now,
I'd go Kupp if you want to win now.
best.
I'd go Kupp if you want to win now. I know a lot of people might disagree with me and say Kupp is garbage. They wouldn't draft him, but that's what I'm going to do, bro.
Kupp over Kelce?
What about
No, not Kupp over Kelce, but Kupp next if you're having a conversation about those other players. Right. You said Leggett, and your question was Leggett and Kupp. So I was just giving you my answer.
Okay, then I should go Kelce over both of them?
I mean, yeah, I would.
I would.
All right,
thank you.
Later, Theo.
See ya.
No. Anything's possible. Anything's possible! Some of you are too young to know what that even means. All right.
Good old KG.
Dude gave McMillan away and Garrett Wilson for a ham sandwich. Baxter, I kind of agree. G6, don't get mad at me, bro. You super chat me for honesty, so I'm just giving you my honest take. I just traded. I don't know if he's watching right now. But I just traded away A.J. Brown in a third-rounder rookie draft, third-round rookie pick. A.J. Brown in a third-round rookie pick for Garrett Wilson in a dynasty, in a the Fantasy Football Show group, like Dynasty. I have 3 Dynasty leagues that I started from the beginning of the show when we started many years ago. And I like that. I don't know what A.J. Brown's going to do for maybe a couple more years, but I worry about injury, and his situation's kind of weird right now. You like Garrett Wilson way over A.J. Brown, chat, and Travis? From a dynasty perspective, right? I mean, how could you not?
I do, yeah. And I'm thinking, it was G6, is that his name? He must be really high on Franklin, which, I mean, it's a matter of preference. If you think he's going to, that's what he needs to come out of that trade, you know, not too bad. It's for Franklin to become something, or Troy Franklin.
Trust your gut, G6.
I'm just not sure what he is.
Trust your gut, my boy. All right. I'm not sure if I'll be back tonight or not. I will let you guys know on Instagram because I always put whether I'm going live. So keep tabs on that. Anything else, Travis? I've been making these shows a little shorter this month, but February.
When do you usually start doing your rookie rankings, like for the draft?
We've already done a few, but let's start. We'll probably have to start over. So I'll do a running back ranking video, then a wide receiver ranking video, then a quarterback, then I don't even know if I'm going to do tight ends, to be honest. Smitty, you never talk about the tight ends.
I have a couple questions about them, but I'd rather just wait.
All right, we'll do that soon. I want to do my next video. I want to do is re-ranking the rookies from last year, and maybe doing my super rookie rankings, which is the sophomores and rookies, and then we'll see where Bucky stacks up against Genty and all that. So I'll do a sophomores and rookies ranking video.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
Later, Travis.
All right, tech.
Dose. G6, appreciate your super chat, my boy. And don't fret. Higgins will help you make that better, I think. But thank you, my boy. All right, I'll see you all later. Congratulations to Malik Nabers. John's calling in and wants some help real quick. John, I'm on the way out the door, John, but go ahead. You got 15 seconds. You're live.
I know we've been talking about Nabers, but who do you want to end up as the QB for the Giants? And then who do you think they're going to end up taking? That's all I got.
Fields or one of the rookies, or at the worst case scenario, Darnold. Just because he might be able to, with Dable, he might be able to, they might get the most out. They'll get more than they got out of Danny Dimes and all that. So, but he's like the last resort.
Who do you think they draft?
Shador, I believe. I don't know, but they'd have to trade up though. Shador,
think they go O-line?
Shador could fall.
Appreciate it. Have a great night, man.
All right, later, bro. I don't think Cam will fall. All right, I'll see you all later. Congrats to mother freaking Malik Nabers.
The Jupiter Men. Jupiter is so large, every planet in the solar system could fit inside it. There are no bigger monsters than the Jupiter Men.
Live Monday through Friday. Additionally, live whenever a big news breaks. Deuces.